Welcome to the latest episode of The Deep Cut. My guest for today is an actress I have wanted to speak to for quite some time and speak with for quite some time. She's also a writer, a director, a producer, and an all-around intellectual badass, whether she wants to admit it or not. You've seen her in such thought-provoking, dramatic fare like Magnolia, Boogie Nights, Short Term 12, Cold Mountain, A Dead Poets Society, Hard 8, The Butterfly Effect. She's even done some comedies like Cabin Boy and had a bit of a cameo in Venom. And she's done star turns in TV shows like Big Love, Roseanne, Law & Order, SVU, one of my favorite episodes, and recently as Kathy Cohn in this Amazon Prime series, Pen 15. Today she is here to talk about her latest film, The Pale Door, a horror from writer-director Aaron B. Koontz. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to The Deep Cut, Melora Walters. Melora, how are you?
Good. That was such a nice introduction. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Please. You've been one of my favorite actresses to watch throughout the years, and whenever you pop up in anything I'm watching, I'm always excited to see you and see what you're going to bring to the role. You know, I've been watching for quite some time. Obviously, Boogie Nights. Oh, sorry, not Boogie Nights. Magnolia was the one that really kind of hooked me into your talent and your abilities, and then from there, going back and then going forward to watch most of your work. It's been incredible to experience it and see the kind of depth and complexity you bring to the roles that you portray. You know, this and that also, and some of the fierceness that you bring to these roles you portray as well, and that certainly applies to the character you're playing here in this film, The Pale Door, which is a horror western from Aaron B. Koontz, and you play this. You're called Mother, and you're the head of this coven of can we say witches? I don't want to give too much away here, but how did you come to be involved in this project?
My agent said there's a script and you've got an offer, and I read it and said yes. And Aaron and I spoke, and it was even more of a yes.
Oh, right on. Was there an appeal here for you because of how, you know, we keep revisiting this idea of what happened at the Salem witch trials to these women, that men of, you know, from puritanical points of views were, you know, in fear of women and fear of women having this power. And so they burned them at the stake. That's become something that's kind of burst into our pop culture over the last 15 to 20 years. Certainly the film The Witch kind of highlighted that a little bit as well. So was there something that appealed to you from that aspect in this role?
Well, witches do interest me. I played one in Robert the Bruce. That was my first witch.
Okay.
Yeah, that was interesting, and I think what I'll tell you applies to your question.
Okay.
Theodorus Wallace was in that film because it's Robert the Bruce.
Right.
Angus McFadden played him just as he did in Braveheart.
Right, reprising the role, right.
Yeah. Great. I mean, great idea, right? Great.
Yeah. I mean, he's already played him.
Yeah. So there was a scene where I walk into the where everybody's drinking, and the director Richard Gray had told Sayora, "Say it's the witch," and Sayora, you know, everybody's going, "It's the witch." And afterwards, Sayora comes up to me and he's like, "I am so sorry." And I'm like, why? He goes, because from the people that I come from, women like you are respected. You have great powers. You help us. You heal people.
Wow.
Change the world. I'm so sorry I'm saying it in a way that makes it sound like you're a horrible thing.
Huh.
I think that's what interests me in this.
Okay.
There's the Salem witch trial, which was, it's just insane that they just went through and burned. But also, if you think of Joan of Arc, she has a vision, somehow gets, you know, the Dauphin to let her lead an army, saves Paris for him,
Mm-hmm.
and then he hands her over to the English, and they burn her at the stake for being a witch.
Right. Right.
Or wearing men's clothing. So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I find that interesting. But then in playing a character, any character, I can't have any judgment, you know?
Right.
I can't have any looking outside at the person. I just have to be the person.
Right.
So I texted with Aaron earlier, is there anything I shouldn't say or should say?
Right.
And we were talking about witches and, and if you talk to him, he'll tell you about the concept of the film. Mm-hmm. But I, as an actor or the artist, can only embody the character completely trying to be this person.
Right.
So I remember saying, I can't approach her as evil. Mm-hmm. All right?
Right.
I can't. She was burned at the stake, pregnant. Mm-hmm. These women bring her back to life and help her deliver this child.
Right.
So she now takes care of these women,
right,
and loves her daughter. Who doesn't love their daughter? Well,
right,
some people don't, but in this case, she does.
Right.
So it was interesting. Like, theoretically, I'm an evil witch.
Right.
But I'm not playing her. Like, I'm just playing her as this woman who, like, she loves what she eats.
Right.
It excites her. And she loves the women, her family.
Yeah.
And she loves her daughter. And
right.
I have to, like, focus on that.
Right. But, I mean, with the character, the way it's constructed in the film, and again, we don't want to give away too much, that
right.
There must be a little bit aspect of revenge as well, right? Because of what happens to her, and we don't want to give away, as I said.
So we don't want to give it away. And Jaden's Landry, a bear, was like, what such a joy to work with.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that scene was.
Yeah.
He's so incredible. I don't think he's really been discovered yet. I'm waiting for him to, like, explode. He's just so good.
It's funny. I watched that scene, Melora, and almost as soon as the scene was over, I paused the movie and went on my IMDb to try to find him, because I was like, how do I not know this guy? Because in just a short scene, he was able to captivate me in what he was able to do, playing off of what you were doing as well, which was really graphic to experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you look at him in that and you compare him to this, the man is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And there was something that was so interesting about working with him where, I was like, was she pregnant with his child?
That's okay. So I don't know if we can get it away, but in that moment, I'm like, are we supposed to? And then the film becomes an indictment on more than one thing. It becomes layered just in that scene. Yeah.
Yes. And because he has that, like, like, he did something wrong with me, but now here I am, and I'm happy, and I'm not going to tell anybody anything.
Right.
And typical mother, not typical mother, but the mother that loves the child, just let me have the baby and do what you want to me.
Right.
Aaron spoke about revenge, like that created this.
Right.
But but at the time of filming, I didn't think of it as revenge. I felt she's purely in survival mode, almost operating from her reptilian brain.
Right.
So that it's tangible food, everything tangible. Like, she has to, like, she does these, like, everything is...
Yeah.
She has, like, I'm still alive and I'm here, and
Right.
everything's beautiful, and the witches, the other witches.
Right.
There's that scene where I'm like, you're so beautiful. It's just like she's just very primal.
Right.
So that she survived it.
Hmm.
She managed to give birth, and now she has to take care of these people,
Right. Right.
her family.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're searching for it, the scene, that scene initially starts out with you sharing your joy with a couple of other women in town. And so we can tell you're not the kind of woman that is like, shunned or pushed away in the town. She's very much, it seems like, beloved or connected. And so there is I don't know how you call it, but there's a connection amongst the women already in the town. So when when what happens to you, and you become the leader of these witches, it makes sense because you've already laid the groundwork in the movie that you can create a kind of matron connection amongst people, and so when it comes to happen for you amongst the witches, it just makes sense. It's just a logical movement to the next stage for her to now gather more women around her and to give them power, to kind of fight back against, it's all guys. So it's almost like a patriarchy type situation that you're fighting back against.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. And I don't know, I'm a big fan of Westerns, so I was really excited to watch the movie. And it's rare when you see Westerns that are combined with horrors in that aspect. So I know that's a very thin tightrope to walk because both genres are very distinct and have their calling cards between them. So to combine them is a very difficult thing to do. But I have to say, I enjoyed watching the movie. I enjoyed what Aaron was trying to say with the script. I know he's not the only writer, but he is the director of the film as well. I enjoyed what was going through here. Were there times, you're I would say the most experienced or decorated actor on the set. Were there times where people were coming to you? Yet we had some young actors who are building their resumes as well here.
No.
Okay. Well, people need to wake up. I'd have come to you, that's for sure.
No, I think we're all actors, and
Okay.
I don't think. I think you're an actor. You're an actor. Like
Mm-hmm.
I.
Right. All right. Fair. I totally.
I think we're all on the. Like we're all on the playing in this. The stage.
Yeah.
In this case, it was like the Western town.
Yeah.
Like we're all who we are, and that's all that matters. Like that's how I.
Right. In service of the piece altogether. That sounds like reminiscent of your theater background from New York. We're all together in this to try to bring this piece to life, and we're all in service of the piece. I totally understand that. How long did it take this? Were you involved in this in any way? Because you've directed your own films now. You've written your own films. Were you working in tandem with Aaron sometimes, or were you just sitting back and just letting him shoot his film and just enjoying what was being created?
Yeah, I was just his actor.
Okay.
Trying to bring his story to life.
Okay.
And this character, make her real.
Yeah. How many days were you guys shooting this film?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't there for the whole thing.
Okay.
There's so much there were other things that happened.
Right, you do come in a little bit later. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But I loved it. I can tell you. Yeah.
The design of the characters was interesting too when they become witches. The design is an unusual design we haven't seen before, so I'm sure that must have excited you to act opposite something like that.
Yeah.
Try to find the connection and the emotional connection with each one.
With each one, yeah, and with each man.
Yeah.
Like, even though she's in a sense distant.
Yes.
She's definitely analyzing all the time.
Right.
Very much. It's very primal. Like.
Mm-hmm. And you've got some good actors on the Devin Druid, Zachary Knighton, Noah Segan, Stan Shaw, Pat Healy, Bill Sage. I mean, all of these people, and a couple of them I've seen in quite a number of things for quite some time. So those were nice surprises for me personally when I was watching the film.
Yes, I loved watching them. Like, I loved watching them work. Loved it.
Yeah.
And I loved watching them when they weren't working. You know, everybody has their own process, so I really got to, like, really see these men. I mean, they're really incredible.
Yeah. Well, we were talking off camera before we started the interview, and you spoke about, I was commenting on the painting behind you, and you said to me that you were an artist before. You've got a website for your art there. So you talk about observing. You know, an actor loves to observe other people, but an artist does as well when they're, you know, coming up with ideas for paintings or create. So is this just a natural instinct of yours to just watch and observe people? When other people are on their phones, are you just kind of staring and looking around and connecting and maybe storing little bits of information for yourself later?
I would like to say that I'm like that. But I, just like everyone else, am easily sucked into the black hole of my phone.
Okay.
All right. But I do very much on set like watching people. Like, I would really like watching everybody do what they do, and when they have time off, I you know, in between, because on this kind of film, so much work is involved behind the scenes too.
Okay.
The, hair, makeup, wardrobe, the set design, the special effects, I mean, they work, you know, they work harder than the actors.
Right.
So I love watching. I like watching how people operate.
Like I said earlier, you've directed a couple of pieces as well as a short. Were you also watching to see if there were any directing tidbits or anything like that that could grow you as a director as well as you were watching Aaron's work with this piece?
I don't think I was thinking that.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think there are situations where I'm watching, like if I'm not acting and I'm watching, and I'll go, oh my God, that's brilliant. Like, why can't I do that?
Yes.
Why?
And
why didn't I? Why?
But then so many actors will watch you and they'll say the same thing. Why can't I do that? That looks incredible. Why didn't I think to do something like that? For sure, I'm sure. This deals with this old story of, you know, brothers, and also lies that are told within families, you know, certain things that are believed for what you consider to be the better of the children, and then them discovering what actually happened. And that must have been exciting too, because you've explored some things with your pieces that are about interpersonal relationships and lies that are told, or facts that are hidden, or stories that are uncovered, stuff like that. So that must have appealed to you in the script as well.
Yes, I'm very interested in humans, their relationships. I'm really fascinated with psychology, so the inner life, and then how that affects how you connect with people. Which, yes, this story, you know, it's a Western and it's a horror film, but this story has a lot of layers. Like you were saying, sins of the father. Was that on purpose?
Right.
Yes and no. Or you do things out of protection, or you act out of fear. Right. Even, you know, me burning at the stake, you know, that James's character is in a world of that. He's afraid. It's set up from the beginning with the book.
Yep.
Someone says, you know, when the train is going, you know, they're like, who where was this trunk going to? And they say his name, Cotton Mather the Third.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So he's descended from this line. So you have this whole, and I've been wondering about this lately, this whole ancestral stuff churning in your blood. So it's not just you as an individual trying to break out or make a change. Yeah. It's you, like, ancestrally, like, where did you come from?
Right.
You know, and what would happen in this film if someone said, all right, you guys, we need to find a way to get along. Right? I mean, that's how the world is now. All right, everybody stop. All right, stop the nonsense. No more killing, no more injustice. We need to find a way to get along.
Right.
Like, what would happen? Well, then we wouldn't have this film. But
right, conflict. Yeah.
But I think Aaron used this as an opportunity to say, "Hey, wake up."
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Stop. You have to stop. You have to be better people.
Right. Right. And there is a moment, and once again, not giving anything away, but there's a moment near the end that's kind of relates to what you just mentioned. And when the people watch that movie, I think they'll catch that moment. It's very powerfully said, this idea of letting something go in order to break, as you just said, the ancestral connections, or the connections of the repeating of the patterns from generation to generation.
Sins of the father, they say. You know, like, it carries on.
Yeah.
Like, what if you say, no, I'm not going to do that?
Right.
No. I don't care if everyone has done that. No.
Right, right. Or I don't have to make the same mistakes, or I don't have to give up on myself and just accept that I'm going to be this, and that's that, and I don't have any choice in the matter, and I'm doomed to repeat the mistakes. You have the power to break the cycle. It's not easy, but you have the power. Right. Yeah.
I think that's true of being human.
Yeah.
We have the power to stop, and we have the power to choose to do things differently.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when damage has been done, so for instance, in this film, I'm burned to death. Like, you can't take that away. So how do you deal with something where there are scars? You know, something's broken. Someone's damaged someone, and there are scars. Something's been broken. Yeah. It's not enough to just say, I'm sorry.
Right. Right.
Like, I will forever be burned.
Yeah. Right. Right. You can. Your job, if you've burnt me, is to soothe the wounds and make the effort to soothe the wounds. And just saying I'm sorry is not enough. If the wounds are so severe, just saying I'm sorry is really at just the starting point. It's the starting line. There's so much more to go.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing to say, I'm sorry.
Right. Absolutely.
And if my character was suddenly like, oh, stop.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I think that's the beginning.
Right. Right. Right.
But then you have to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I find that as I look through your career, it seems to be that these are the characters that you gravitate to the most, or you seem to really kind of move towards or move through as you go in your career. Cabin Boy's the anomaly, but these other, which are great, and you're fantastic in that. But like these other films are where people like who appreciate like these these deep portrayals, these complex portrayals, can really sit back and enjoy your performance and enjoy your talent and your work. Do you find that is something that has been with you since the beginning, being drawn to these, for lack of a better term, I even hate using this term, but damaged or broken characters as they're processing their damage to try to find a way out?
Yeah, I'm completely drawn to that.
Yeah.
I'm drawn to that because I think we're all inherently damaged.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and I think we all are tortured, and I think we all have things
Yeah.
that wake us up in the middle of the night. And so uh, I I I want to. I'm interested in playing real humans,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think, or maybe damaged it like is the wrong word. I think we all suffer.
Yes.
We all
Okay.
suffer,
All right.
and I don't think we should have to suffer, but I think we do.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
The films. I didn't grow up in America. I grew up overseas, so there were like Fellini's films. Again, like it was the humor in life. I mean, there's beauty and joy, but there's this, ugh.
Yeah.
And Bergman, Ingmar Bergman,
Yeah.
talk about really exploring the human psyche.
Yeah.
And then here, like for me, John Cassavetes, I got to work with Paul Thomas Anderson, who I think very much explores the interior landscape. And I know when before I always wanted to be an artist, but what made me aware of actors acting or someone making a film to get something across, I remember I saw The Deer Hunter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I thought,
Michael Cimino. Yeah.
yeah, I thought, oh, okay, he's exploring the reaction to fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I wasn't just sitting in a movie theater, like lost in
Right.
you know.
The 70s, that's the time, isn't it? I mean, for so many people. And you talk about Bergman, though. I mean, I host a podcast called The Cinephiles. We've been doing it for about 4 years, and we take a classic movie and we break it down over 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. It just goes scene by scene, dissecting the themes and the technical aspects that are used to make the film. And we just did Seventh Seal. And we just revisited it because I hadn't seen it in such a long time, since probably I was getting my minor in film studies, and it was so great as an older man to go back and watch that film, because what I got out of the film as an older man was completely different than what I got when I was in my 20s when I watched it the first time. And it's that exploration of the human condition, of religion, of relationships, of the male-female dynamic in a relationship. So much is here to explore, and it's an hour and a half film, yet it's chock full of so many things. And I hesitate with Bergman. I'm not gonna lie, I hesitate with Bergman. I hesitate, like I see Persona, I see Strawberries, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready, or Wild Strawberry. I don't know if I'm ready to capture everything. Like, he's one of the few filmmakers that intimidate me, to be honest with you, because I don't know if I can handle the concepts that he's bringing out. You speak about him as one of your favorites. Why is Bergman something that is burrowed deep into your soul?
I think because he so much shows the inner life of these of each character, men and women. There's so much silence in his film. He actually made a film called The Silence, but there's so much silence where you're just watching a person being alive.
Yeah.
And I find it even when I first started watching films.
Yeah.
I just find it reassuring. Like, I'm not alone. Like, look, he saw it. I see it. This is what I know. I watched Cries and Whispers recently.
Okay.
Yeah, and so 3 sisters and one is dying.
Okay.
And I had seen it, like you when I was younger, and I remembered one thing, and there's a scene in there that's so brutal and shocking. And I recently saw Isabelle Huppert as the piano teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So remember, there's a cutting scene.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just like, ugh, right?
Yes.
Okay. Forget it.
Really?
There's a scene in Cries and Whispers, and it's a period piece.
Right.
So, and I must have blacked it out.
Wow.
It's just you know something's wrong with this character. You know she's repressed. You know she's suffering.
Yeah.
And suffering. And then this thing happens, and then how the film ends. It's just, oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God. Like, you know, The Single Man. A Single Man?
Right.
A recent film. That film hit me the same way. It's just like, oh my God, we suffer, and then we go through this journey, this, you know, Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, like, archetypal journey, and then we just die?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But that's what touches my heart and soul.
Yeah. Well, that's the tragic comedy of life. And you wish more people were willing to do that. We might be a more empathetic society, an empathetic world, if more people were who had that ability to feel things in that way. You know, as artists, we can be at times shocked that people don't see the world the way we do. Right. How can you not see what's happening? How can you not? And some people aren't born with that ability, or have to train that ability themselves, or have to have something happen to them before it opens up and they can actually embrace that part of themselves. And some people never do. You know, it's just so fascinating to watch. Right?
Lucky them. Maybe they're lucky.
So I was actually seeing that. I was actually reading an interview or watching an interview with somebody the other day who's an artist. I wish I could remember the actor or the director said that, and said, you know, sometimes I wish I wasn't born with this ability, because it is such a curse to go through life being able to feel everything. Because you can create great art, but it takes so much out of you, and that it feels like a towel that's being wrung out of with water. And when it's dry, the towel is beautiful to look at, but when it's wet and it's been wrung out, it's all ragged and destroyed on the towel rack, you know. And so I was like, oh wow, I never thought of it in such a way. You know?
Yeah, you get wrecked.
Yeah, you get wrecked, exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you something. I hope I'm not crossing any lines, but I've discovered in some of your work that, especially the work you've written or directed, this idea of depression comes in very strongly through your work, and this desire to confront it and talk about it. I know with my channel and with the work I've done over the last 4 years, I've spoken openly about depression, panic attacks, anxiety, to try to destroy the stigma of it in some small way with my work or my channel. Having a forum like you do to create the things that you do, is this an important issue for you to bring up and put out there for people to confront themselves?
Yeah, it's an important issue. Okay. I think what we were talking about earlier, you know, being an artist, there's a fine line with everything, I think, as a creative person. Mm-hmm. Like, when you feel so much all the time, it takes a toll on you. I mean, throughout history, writers, painters, Van Gogh, Nietzsche, you know, I think it's a fact. Yeah. I think that what you also said earlier, like as an artist, like, oh, not everybody sees the world the way I do, the way I do all the time. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. I think I think it is inherently what makes me an artist, or makes people an artist. Right. I think you're talking about Water Lily Jaguar, my film.
Yes. Yeah. The one James LaGrosse. Yeah.
He was so good.
I love James. He's so good.
James is amazing. Mira, amazing. Mm-hmm. Just amazing. So also what well, the La Brea Woman, I'm
Hmm.
fascinated with the La Brea Woman because she is the only human skeleton found in the La Brea tar pits.
Right.
So we're talking about murder.
Hmm.
Her skull was bashed 9,000 years ago. So
Right.
like out of control passion sensitivity must be inherently a human thing, because
Hmm.
no animal, like a dog doesn't pick up a rock and go smack. I mean,
Right.
it kills something because it wants to eat it.
Right.
Well, not maybe a
Or
dog, a wolf.
feels threatened or whatever. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right.
But
um,
that's a primal thing, right? Because I mean, you're saying that
primal.
could be that, right? Yeah.
Primal. Yeah. Also, around the time I was writing or beginning to write Water Lily Jaguar, Philip Seymour Hoffman died.
Oh yeah.
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 So, and he's not the only one with depression,
Right.
and his case wasn't alcohol, but
Hmm.
alcohol is a big thing in
Yeah.
the art world, the
Yeah.
writing world, the painting world, like Jackson Pollock. Um,
Right.
and there's a strange thing in the filmmaking world
Hmm.
where if someone is so sensitive, like Philip, their brilliance is kind of out of the world,
Hmm.
right? So might not you might not know, or you might know. I mean, it's in my short too.
Hmm.
But people let it happen because
Yeah.
it seems to be in control, or
Right.
it produces this great effect, and then the person dies.
Yeah.
And it could be suicide too.
Right. Right. Right.
I think it's a really tragic part of being an artist,
Hmm.
but I think it's really tragic, with actors or artists,
Yeah.
when someone can't grab the person and say stop.
Yeah.
I've had a few other people who in my life who committed suicide,
Yeah.
and when when they finally did it, nobody knew they were going to do it.
Yeah.
And the people who have survived have all said, um, you can't, when a
Hmm.
person is in that darkness,
Yeah.
there is nobody, nothing that can take them and say stop,
Right.
because they're in it.
Right. Was
And
that?
I think that's when the suffering has crossed the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that Mist of Avalon you just picked up? What was the book you just picked up?
It's called, no, Naguib Mahfouz.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, Palace of Desire, the Cairo trilogy.
Oh, right.
He won the Nobel Prize.
Oh, wow.
So, for the trilogy. Um, I in one of my newer pieces that I'm
Yeah.
trying to get made, I have a character. You watch him cross the line,
Right.
and then he's waiting for the end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how you can help
Hmm.
or alleviate. I know, with Magnolia,
Yeah.
I've had a few people come, like, say to me, strangers say, I was in rehab, or I
Yeah.
was like using, and I saw you, and I knew I wasn't alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew I made it. They were like, you made a difference.
Right.
That makes me cry.
Huh.
Because when I see Ingmar Bergman, when I watched Ingmar Bergman in my 20s, I was like, I am not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's art saved me.
That's incredible because that's paying it forward, right? If people are coming up to you and saying that. I attempted suicide in 2016 myself and climbed out of it to create the things I've created over the last 4 years. And I always end the show by telling people, whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next week, next day, next week, next month, next year, please do that, because you never know what is waiting for you if you can work
Oh,
through that moment, and
yeah. Oh my God.
it's
So,
true. Yeah.
how did you crawl out of it?
It was in a moment of desperation. I woke up one morning and I had felt like I was one of the most unlovable people on the planet, because I had not kind of come to terms with some issues from my past as a teenager and as a young child. Some of the rejection that I'd experienced, and that had really kind of sent me into this terrible wormhole for about 30 years of deep insecurity and deep loss of self-esteem and loss of self-worth. And I built up this wall of like, oh, I'm a tough, but inside just broken. And so that morning, after a breakup with someone I just started dating 2 or 3 months ago, it kind of triggered all this emotion that I'd been holding back a little bit, and the waves of it just took me over. And that morning I woke up and I was unhappy with my life. I didn't like the job I was doing. I felt rejected all around by the world. And I thought, well, there's no reason for me to be around. There's just no reason for me to be around. I know my friends. I have like a bunch of friends. I know deep friendships, and my family, but I just don't see the point. And I'm not happy, and I hurt all the time. And so that morning, I had pulled the knife out of the drawer. I had walked to my living room, and I was ready to do it. And then a friend randomly texted me, which I picked up, and then happened to go on social media, and a friend had posted in one of those retweets a suicide prevention hotline number. And I called, and it took all my strength, because I'm Latino and I have that machismo thing, and I'm like, I don't need help, but it was all my strength to dial those 7 numbers. And to my credit, to my life, I owe this person. I have no idea what her name is or where I would ever try to find her, but she sat with me for 45 minutes and she navigated me out of it to the point where I could call or text my friends, who immediately drove over at 7:30 in the morning and took me to a therapist, and then eventually to the UCLA ER, so that I could be watched all day, because so I wouldn't harm myself. But it was that process, and then a friend who runs a rehab center stepped forward, and she paid for 2 therapists to watch me, or to give for 6 months, to do therapy with me for 6 months. So that's how I climbed out of it. But it was
Incredible. That's just incredible.
yeah, well, yeah, it was tough. It was not easy, but the days, they still come occasionally. You'll have a day, you'll have a moment, you'll have a few hours of anxiety or panic attack or whatever, but then you just use your tools to walk yourself out of it. And I'm very fortunate in what has happened in my life since. So you paying it forward, your performances for people to come up to you, I try to make it something that I speak about openly in all my shows that I host or I do when it comes up. I never shy away from it. And I've had so many people send me messages like, you've given me inspiration. But I didn't do it because I'd listened to your show or because something like that. And you're right. Those are the things you put away, and you're like, those are little jewels that you keep for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes it all make sense. It makes it worthwhile. It makes us connected as humans, because we are all connected.
Yeah.
And yet, as you know, we feel terribly isolated.
We can feel terribly isolated, right? I mean, you look at I'm about to watch that new Robin Williams documentary that they've got coming out, and I want to see what new angle they're taking with that approach, because apparently they are going to confront his passing, and so I want to see how they treat it, how they explore it, and the decision he made, in that moment.
For Anthony Bourdain, that was
right.
a cool one. Like,
right.
I woke up, and read that, and had no idea.
Right.
I mean, here was a man who my son idolized, and say, "Mom, you gotta watch this." And he had such a visceral, tangible, joy of life and eating. Eating is such a life thing. Like
Yeah.
we have to eat and we have to breathe, you know.
Right.
But all the places he went and all the whole, he made the whole world one.
Yeah.
And to these, like, it makes me hungry just thinking about him. And then he's dead.
Right. Right.
Why?
Yeah, right. That's the thing. You with Robin Williams, with Anthony Bourdain, could he have walked anywhere and not found 20 people to be like, let me take care of you, let me, like you just said, let me shake you back into
Yeah.
a place of love. We are all here for you.
Right.
But the battle is
Yeah.
honestly, you forget that anyone's around you. It's internal. Yeah.
That thing you said, the waves take you.
Mm.
So that I have a film that will be released at the end of October. It's called Drowning.
Yes, the one about the son being sent to, sent to war. Yeah.
So it's, when the waves take you, you can't, like, literally, like, if you're in the water and a wave takes you, you can't anymore see what's up or down.
Right, right.
You don't know, like, do I go that way or, like, and I feel that is what depression.
Yeah. It's an apt description, because you really, if you don't have the tools to get out of it, sometimes it can drown you. It can overwhelm you because you only see one way out of it, and that's to make it all stop.
Right. But then I look at you and I hear your story, and you took that, like, from a Jungian point of view. You took the darkness, and you're sitting in this. Like, I want to reach in and touch, look at everything. And, I've never met you before, but I feel like we're having this intimate connection. And you've woven gold out of the darkness.
Thank you. That's actually very, very kind. And it's the reason I started this particular show. I have like 5 shows, but I started this show to be about exploring. It's why it's called The Deep Cut. It's going deep into people if they're willing to talk about it, but also deep into their projects. So it can work both ways. And so I'm quite happy we've had this conversation for sure. I'd be remiss not to ask you about Paul Thomas Anderson. People do connect you with him all the time, and certainly the films you've done with him were the films that really kind of announced you on the stage of film, at least in the medium of film, at least. What do you like now, as we were talking about, recollecting stuff from the past? Like, when you think about your time working on Magnolia and Boogie Nights, and even doing a cameo in The Master, like, what is your feelings about working with Paul Thomas Anderson?
I think he's a genius. I think he's the filmmaker.
Wow. Okay.
Like, period. When I read Heart 8.
Yeah, Heart 8.
Right. Yeah. My agent had sent it, read this. I was like, I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And I called my agent and said, I don't care what part, I have to work with this man.
Wow.
Just reading that script.
Right, right.
It was right there. And when I saw Magnolia, the screening, I kept, like, I had to look at him afterwards because he was so young.
Yeah.
But it was as though an old man made that film. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like an old man made that film, but he was so young.
Yeah.
And he's genius. And working on, I think, as an actor to begin with, I just go into my character, no judgment, just make this character alive. But I think my real relationship is not with any of the other actors, but with the director.
Oh, wow.
So with Paul, I really felt that.
Yeah.
Like, everything, like, my whole world, it was like a benevolent father figure, whatever you want to call it. Like, in the universe, he was the sun, and I'm a little planet or star, like, just like, like, everything is like based on this elliptical gravitation. Like I'm on my own, but I'm, and it was um, one of the most beautiful experiences I've had. It was very intimate to work with him. He's so smart and he's so gentle, and he's an exquisite artist.
Yeah. You spoke about it in one of the interviews I read in preparation for this interview. You spoke about the fact that with the character in Magnolia, you knew you could go to the darkest of places because he had reassured you that he would bring you back. And that actually there was cathartic for you to play that role. I think a lot of actors look at that role would be scared to take something like that on, but there was such a strength and fierceness and vulnerability in what you did. And I imagine it would have been difficult to do without a director who you trusted to bring you back out once you went in there.
Yeah. I said to him, I'll go to the bottom of the ocean, but any diver has a lifeline. So,
right.
And yeah. So the scene with my father.
Yeah.
Where he comes in the
Philip Baker Hall. Yeah.
He'd go, would you mind doing it again? I'm like, no, I'll do it. I'll do anything for you. Like, I'll just keep going until you say stop. I'll just keep going.
Wow.
But talk about depression or tortured soul. I know that the idea is that love saves her.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly. But I can't help sometimes when I think of her, I'm like,
did she get saved? Is that what you?
Did you stay?
Oh yeah. Did John C. Reilly stay or did she stay?
Well, I imagine, like it's love and she's okay now and she smiles for the first time, like she's never, I don't think she's ever smiled before. And, but sometimes I wonder, like, and then what?
Yeah.
Did they stay? Did they get divorced? Did she start drinking? Did she, but that's just my brain.
Right. Did he do something? Did he make a mistake? Was he involved in something?
Did he make a mistake with her?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of that film is that it's just this, to have a moment's reprieve.
Yeah.
Just to have a moment where you go, you can breathe, life is good, life is beautiful, is like the text you got.
Yeah.
You can call this number.
Yeah. I mean, it's that you're right. And when you're in the place of suffering, or for people who just accept suffering as the natural way of life, that one moment of reprieve is an abundance of joy. It's just an abundance of joy to feel. It's that coming out of the water just for a second to catch your breath before you have to go back in again, and and that's what I mean. I don't mind telling you this. I'll straight up tell you this. I fell in love with you in that movie. Like I was like, she's so, because you're this. I don't know what it feels like. At any moment you might fall over and shatter into 1,000 pieces, but yet you have the desire. And in that moment when you're singing "Wise Up," there's just this thing on your face after you do that. Even that is not satisfying you anymore. When you do it's like that. When I saw that moment, I was like, oh wow, I've never seen that color in a situation like that. The idea that even the drugs that have been numbing you, even that isn't enough anymore. So the next step is possibly, taking your life or whatever. So having John C. Reilly, having that kind of work itself out, who's also suffering his own, things. It's you save each other, but you're right. You can't say love. Say you have to save you, then love can come. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know. Yeah,
Man,
you have to love yourself,
yes.
maybe.
That's what I mean.
You have to be open to the concept that it exists.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And is love, what is the difference between love and hope, or are they interconnected? You
Right.
know?
Right. Because I think Punch Drunk Love, which is of course Paul Thomas Anderson's shot at people who were saying he couldn't do a regular movie, which I think is brilliant. I love Punch Drunk Love.
Right.
But you gave an interview like 10 years ago, and I need to ask you this. You gave an interview 10 years ago, and you said to the person, what do you think about Paul working with Adam Sandler? You said, I think it's great. We talked about me being involved, but I don't think I'm supposed to say anything about it yet. It's top secret. You laughed. It should be really interesting and fun. So was there a possibility that you were going to play the Emily Watson character? Was that a conversation that had been had?
That was not.
Okay.
There was
Oh, there was something else, maybe.
there was something else, but it didn't happen.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe because I could totally have seen you play that character as much as
Never, 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 never.
Okay.
Never.
Because I could see that.
Never.
No, I love it. I love it. What is with your painting now? Let's talk about that before we wrap up here. You've got some beautiful stuff that people can see who are watching this video. If you're not listening to it on the podcast, I encourage you to at least come onto YouTube and watch the video to see the beautiful paintings. So you started as a painter, you said, and now you still come back to it over and over again. Do you show your pieces someplace, or do you paint for yourself here?
Yeah, I've always been an artist.
Okay.
That's my first memory was I considered myself an artist. I drew a stick in the sand, you know.
Right.
I went to Pratt in New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Studied art. I worked as an artist. I have a website, melorawaltersart.com.
Okay.
I sell my art. I paint every day.
Wow.
I'm on Saatchi has a site, and there's another one in Europe called Singular Art. They asked me to be part of it. I am basically an artist.
Are you an artist who acts, or an actor who's an artist?
I'm an artist who acts.
Oh.
Like, I sometimes don't even think of myself as an actress.
Right.
Like the film The Pale Door.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it this weekend, and I was like, well, I would have cast like a real actor. I would have cast, like, I can think of like several actors that I would have cast in that part if I were making up. So I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. But I love art. Like, art saved me. So
yeah. Okay.
I don't come back to art. Like, I live and breathe art. Like,
Gotcha.
That's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I paint all the time, or draw, photograph, or printmaking. It's just like, that's my element.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you shoot as well. You're a photographer as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you would say is art is your lifeblood.
Yeah.
Acting is what you enjoy. You enjoy doing acting, but being an artist is what gives you life.
I don't know how I would say it.
Okay.
I can say that when I did study dance when I was young, and so while I considered myself an artist even when I was a kid, I quote unquote wanted to be a dancer.
Right.
So when I was at Pratt, it's when I first tried performing.
Yeah.
And I came to it in the it's kind of an odd story. It's as though when you're acting, we had to read these books by now I'm blanking on the name. It's a famous Russian
Stanislavski?
Yes, Stanislavski.
Yep.
We had to read Stanislavski's books.
I remember those books.
As artists, to know how to pose our models.
Oh,
because how you pose a model denotes emotion.
Right.
Okay? So when I read that, I was like, oh. So then I created this piece at Pratt, and I ended up acting, dancing in it. And I realized when I was on stage, because I had painted the sets, because I had built masks, because I had done everything, I realized that when I was acting, I was not only the canvas, I was the artist. Someone else was painting on me, if it was a director. And that every move I make denotes emotion. So you'd think I would sit properly while talking to you, but I have no self-control, obviously. So,
I love it.
So that is what acting is. Like, acting is just another aspect of art where I am the art piece, and I'm letting, and someone's, I'm becoming the sculptor, or I'm embodying it.
Yeah.
If I could get in a painting, that would be acting.
Yeah. Wow, I love that's a great description. That's one of the most unique descriptions I've ever heard. I love it.
Acting.
Maybe you should write the book, Melora. Maybe you should write a new book.
No, I think everybody would be like, she's crazy.
No, please. I think they'd see everything you've done and be like, well, yes, I will listen. This makes sense to me. Well, I mean, we're at the hour mark, so I know I got to wrap up. I appreciate it so much, your time and conversation. This was so much more than I expected, and I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for staying alive.
Well, you too. Thank you for staying alive and doing all the work you're doing, honestly. It is The Pale Door. It is out. It will be out soon, August 21st. On August 21st, 2020, it will be in theaters and on demand and digital for you to enjoy from writer-director Aaron B. Koontz. Cameron Burns also worked on the script, and Keith Lansdale, who you know from Creepshow. It does star the lovely Melora Walters, who you see there, but also Devin Druid, Zachary Knighton, Noah Segan, Stan Shaw, Pat Haley, Bill Sage, as well as Bill Sage. Thank you so much to Melora, and thank you all for watching The Deep Cut here. And I'll end it as I said it 20 minutes ago. Whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next week, next month, next year, please find your way to do that. You never know what's waiting for you on the other side, and it just might surprise you. This is John Rocha, and this has been The Deep Cut. Take care.